This video file was recorded in Sabunji University during recitations for the CS204 Advanced Programming course as it was given in the spring semester of 2017.
Okay, now let's go concretely with examples. Namely, I'm going to cover this example. You want me to start with this one? Let me start with this one. First, let's see how we start a new GUI project. You can follow me. So, go to Visual C#, select it. Here at the right hand side, you have MFC application. You should mind Microsoft Foundation class. You select that. You can change the name of the project. Let's say CS204 sample 1. Let me put GUI here. Okay, this is it. I'm pressing OK. Afterwards, you have this window. You press Next. Then everything should remain as it is, but you should check the dialog base button and then press Next. Nothing else. Then this should be like this. If you want, you can change the title of your window. Okay, but I'll show another way. One way is you can change it here. Another way, I'll show it to you. Maybe it's better to do that, use that way. This is it. Now you press Finish, and I'm done. Now I'm able to create a new GUI application. Namely, we're going to create the one with the list. So while the computer is working, let me show you what are we going to do. So here, you give, just a minute, you select one of those. So Mr., let's say I'm giving my name, my surname. I want to say good evening and good night. When I press Add List, good evening is added. Now I'm changing it to Mrs. blah blah, whatever. And I want to add it good morning, good afternoon, plus other. So you see when I select the other, I get bonjour, let's say, or I select one of them. I add them to list, and I should add 1, 2, 3. This is how I add. So, bon voyage and good morning, bon voyage and good afternoon, bon voyage and good night, because I selected morning, afternoon, night. But this bon voyage is kind of appended to those guys. And I have all of them. You see here when I have Mrs., or I have a dot after Mrs., Mrs., Mrs. When I have Mr., I also have a dot. But when I write Miss, whatever, let me do it with caps lock. Okay, and I'm adding that. You see that's bon voyage, and when I have Miss, I don't have a dot. Okay, so for the first two guys, I have a dot, Mr. and Mrs., but when I have Miss, I don't have a dot. I have to do this in my code. It looks easy, but it's not that easy to program. And we will see it in a while. Okay, so this is what we should do right now. So this is my window. My application will look like this. You see here, I don't have this OK and cancel box. That's why I'm going to select both of them and delete. We don't have this one. I'm going to delete it also. I started from scratch. So this is my window. And this is also a class. If I want to change the name of my window, if I run the code, this is what I get. Okay, we should wait a while. First time it takes longer. Nothing, because I didn't do anything. So this is my window. The name of the window is CS204 GUI sample 1. Now, if I want to change the name of the window, I go here, and let's say I can change it to, let's say, simple GUI, nothing else. You see I have simple GUI here. When I run the window, the program, I have simple GUI here. So I changed the title of the window. Now let's start from scratch. I want to build this guy here. I'm starting with adding the text. Here I have the controls that I need. I just drag and drop them. So this is static text, I'm dragging it. And here, so this is the toolbox. I have the controls here. At the right side here, I have the Solution Explorer. And so these are the most important parts that you should know. And the codes are going to be written here. Remember this guy. I write the codes here. Some of the codes are already there. They're automatically generated. It will happen to you that you are going to lose your window. Like, namely, this is my GUI, how it looks. And this is my codes here. You are going to lose it. So when you're going to lose it, this is where you can find your window. Go to Resources. Then go to this guy, second one. Then go to Dialog. After you press it, go to Dialog. Press this guy, and this will open. Okay? You will have the videos, you will see them. Then what's important here? Another important stuff here are the properties. Do I see the properties here? Okay, so this is the property window, which is very important. That's why you should press this middle button here and fix it. Make it, stick it like this, because you're going to use it a lot. Now, as you see, I've selected, when I select the general window, I have the properties of this window. The most important one for this one is this one, the caption, where you can change the title of window. There are many others, dozens of properties. Those properties are member functions, but I don't have to deal with them. Now, if I select the ctext, these are the properties of the ctext. And one of the most important properties is this one, caption again. So here I want to change it to title, because you see I have title here, and I've changed it to title. So let me write for C, one of the properties is the title, the caption. It's called caption, where you write to the text that you want to appear to the text label. Now let's go and add this guy, which is which one? It's the combo box. I'm adding it, and I have it here. How can I add those data here? Mr., Mrs., or whatever. Well, I'm selecting this one, and you see here, data behavior. At the behavior, I have this property called data, and I add them here. So I have Mr., then I add semicolon. This is for the first line. Second line, I have MRS, Mrs., semicolon, then I add Miss. And this is it. When I run the program, I have them. When I want to select them, you see they are kind of not in the order I want. I want Mr., Miss, and so on. Why it's the case? Because they are sorted. So I'm going to close it. You see I have the sort variable set to true. I'm going to make it false. Now they are not sorted. They are shown as I have entered them. So Mr., Mrs., and Miss. Okay? This is for the combo box. So what did we have? The data property and sort property. Okay? Now let's go with other stuff. Again, I have name. Where is the toolbox here? If the toolbox or any of the windows that you need doesn't show up, you go to View. So you should have the toolbox, so View Toolbox, it shows here. You should have the Solution Explorer, it shows here. You should have the properties, property windows, you have the here. So properties, you can read them here, Toolbox, Solution Explorer, and so on. Okay, but we will need the toolbox and the properties for certain controls that we are going to use. Now let's put this text here. I'm going to change its caption to name. Another text. By the way, when I'm dragging and dropping those controls, the code is automatically written in the background. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I had to write it, everything. So when I drag and drop it, I had to write, okay, or this button or whatever. I had to write 10 lines of code, and enabled, disabled, sorted, data, whatever, in order to appear. But now I have to drag and drop it. But still, it's not over. I had to add some codes. Now I should add those two. And those are edit controls. I'm adding the first one. then I'm adding the second one. I forgot to tell you, you see, this guy is a kind of more darker, but this is not. That's why you go to the type, drop down, and make it to drop list. You see it's going to change and be more like the window we want to have, like this one. Okay, so miss, they look exactly the same now. So one of the properties was this type. I forgot to tell you about it, so let me write it. You have 3 types: simple, drop down, and drop list. Here we have drop list. About the edits, we don't have to do anything. If I want to move it at the window, to position it, I just select it and move it with the arrows. Now let's go with those 5 checkboxes. This is the first checkbox. I can copy paste. I can copy paste it instead of dragging. Okay, I'm copying, pasting it again. Okay, now I'm adding the last one. Let me add the names here. Of course, the caption is here, the guy. So initially add morning. Then I have, what do I have here? Afternoon and evening. Then evening. Then I think I have night. And I have other. This is it. Then I have a button. This is my button. I'm going to call it, actually the caption will be add to list, so I have add to list here. And finally, I have the list box. So for the button, I have also the caption. We also saw the checkboxes. For them, we had the caption. For all of them, actually, we can have the caption. Okay. For the button also. This is it. Finally, we have the list box. So this is my list box. And we have some variables here, some properties. Namely, do I want to have the vertical scroll bar? Yes, because I have it here. So I can set it to be vertical scroll bar true. I want to have the horizontal one. Where is the horizontal one? Can you help me? Horizontal scroll bar. This is it. I want to have it also. So I have it. Because if I don't set them to true, they will not appear. So for the list box, I have the horizontal bar and the vertical bar. There's another one, left bar. I mean, you can figure out the properties. Yeah? They are self-explanatory. You can figure out what they're doing according to their name. You can have the title bar. You can minimize the box. You can left scroll bar. Instead of having it to the right-hand side, you can have it to the left-hand side, the vertical one. Okay. So those are some of the main properties of the list box. Okay, so far so good. I forgot to add another combo box. This is that one. So I'm adding it here. When the other is selected, I'm dealing with this one. So what should I put here? The data here are bon voyage, adieu, bonjour. I think those are French names. So the first one was adieu. What does that mean? Do you have idea? Anyone speaking French here? No? Okay, I'm writing. I don't speak French well. I'm just writing them. Maybe. Yeah, I think. Adieu, it's in Spanish, I know it, but in French I don't know it. Yes. Bonjour, good morning. I suppose. Yes, bonjour is good morning. So I can speak French, you see? Congratulations. Okay, so if I do this stuff, you see I can select them. But there is a problem with this guy. I should select them only when other is selected. Initially, when I run the window, it should not be selected. So how am I going to do that? Simple GUI. There's the function which is called disabled, which is false. I'm going to make it true. Okay, so when I run the code, you can see it, but it's disabled. Okay, of course I have to program it to appear. So one of all the properties of the combo box is which one? Disabled. You can set it true or false. There are many other properties, like visible. Visible is if you can see it or not. You might say, okay, why do I need it? If I make visible false, I cannot see it. Well, you can make it visible if I check something. For instance, if I check this other, then I can make it visible. I can program it like that. Okay? I can make many things. We have dozens of properties, 30, 40 properties for each of them. You can play with them. It's interesting. If you love programming in GUI, it's really interesting to play with them. Now comes the interesting part. When we added those examples, some code was generated at the background, but we didn't see that. Okay, but it was generated automatically. Now we want to generate our code of our own. Let's see how we are going to do that. For all of those controls, I'm going to add a variable. So this is how I do it. I can do it with programming, but I can do it. This is the best way to do it. So right click. I want to add something about the combo, a variable for the combo. Add variable. And you add the name of the guy. I want to use the exact names as you are going to use in your, pretty much like 95% of the code will be the same. I want to use the same naming convention. So this is combo 1. And you should use names that make sense, okay? So combo 1, finished. This is going to be edit 1 or input 1. For the name, I can make it even better if I say, okay, name input, but it's input 1. This is for the surname. This is input 2. I'm adding it. I forgot to write here the surname because it's for the C-static class. So caption, surname. Okay, then I'm adding a variable for this guy. I'm going to call this check1. A variable for this guy, it will be called check2. Check3. And when I'm adding those guys, you see a code is generated, although you cannot see it. So those are the names that we are adding. You can do this by writing this piece of code, which is much harder to do. Okay, I added combo 1, input 2, check 1, check 2, check 3. I'm going to add other stuff here. And it's automatically added. But this is the best way to do it. So this is check 4. I didn't have it, but we are going to have it now as a code. And I have check 5. Or this is going to be called, I think, other. The name of check other, yes. Okay, I'm adding check other. I'm going to add this one, a variable for this one also. It's going to be called list. Now when I go here, you see those are automatically added. We had them up until here. Now I have check 4, check other, list, and so on. I can have other variables. Okay, so far so good. Now you see everything happens when I press this button. The text is added here. So I'm going to program one function which is going to be called button click, and everything is related with it. In this example, this one. Button click is a function, or it is called an event. So C buttons have a very important function which is called btn click. There's another name, I think. And how can I see that? Well, if I go to the properties You see, we had here the property. I mean, I selected the button. We have here the properties. Here, if I press this stuff, control events, we have the functions, and these are the functions that the button allows. One of them is button clicked, meaning that if I click the button, something happens. In order to fire an event, to program an event, you should select this one, so button clicked, and I select the button click, and now I should program the button click correspondingly. So this is the most challenging part up until now. There's also something interesting something important that I want to tell you about this list here. You see, when I'm generating the code, when I'm generating this vertical bar, it goes up until, the vertical bar is added automatically. But this horizontal bar is also added, but it has some limits. It cannot go it cannot be too large. I have to explicitly program it myself in order to come up until the longest text in the text box, okay? You see the longest text is here. So if I add something longer than that, this horizontal vertical scroll bar will make this list box larger, okay? We are going to see it in a while. We are going to need it for your homework. Namely, let me add something very long, like this. Then here also something long. Then good afternoon and everything else. You see the longest text up until now was this one. All others are shorter. Now I'm going to add something longer. When I add it, you see, the vertical scroll bars arranges the size of the list accordingly. That's why I have to keep a variable which is called maximum size. Initially it's 0. I say it's 0. And here at the maximum size, I keep the size of the horizontal size of the scroll bar, vertical scroll bar. Now let's start. Here I have, I should have one C string for the name, for the title, for the surname, for others. That's why I'm defining C string name. Well, let's go with the title first. Then I have the name. Then I have the surname. Then I have the advanced text. The advanced text is related to this stuff here. Okay, bonjour, bon, whatever. And finally, I have the result. The result will be the one that will be added to the list. Now, in order to program the scroll bar, the vertical scroll bar correspondingly, I have to do the following stuff. You have the code here. I have to get this stuff. You can just, we don't have time to explain it. What does it do, how it's working? Just copy paste that piece of code. C size is another property, another class of MFC library. And this is it. Now I should get the variables from those guys. So I want to take the name from the first input. You remember the variable associated to this guy actually, here, was input 1. So I want to take the name. Input 1 was related to the name. That's why I write input 1. And it has some properties here. One of the properties is get window text. Get window text W. And I put the name here. Then I'm going to input 2 to take the surname. Basically, I can copy paste this guy. So input 2, I'm taking the text and I put it to the surname. Namely, the first input was for the name, the second one was for the surname. I take the data that I've entered there and put to the C string here that I've just defined, title, name, surname. For the combo box, the same applies. The name of this combo was combo 1, if you remember. I put the title there, so combo 1 dot set window get window text W, and I put the title here. Okay. So I have the name, the surname, and the title. But you remember, for the title, we had the stuff that I told you in the beginning, that Mr. and Miss and have a dot, and others have an empty space. If I have Miss, I have an empty space, if you remember. So I'm going to do that stuff here. I'm writing if. So with those 3 lines, I've taken the name, the surname, and the title. Now I'm going to process them. Now check if the title maybe I should write that some of the member functions or events or member functions, how you want to call it, whatever you want, are those get window text, get window text, get window text. So those are for the for the combo box, get window text W, and also for the cedit events are get window text W. This is for getting the text, okay? I should enlarge the font. If you have questions, please ask, okay? I know it's a bit challenging, but not too challenging. But if you have a question, please ask. For Mr. and Mrs., I should put a dot. For Miss, I should put an empty space only. First, I should check whether it is selected, because initially it might not be selected. That in order for it to be selected, the length, there's a function called getLength, should be 0. And so I'm writing this one, getLength, for the C string. Okay? It takes the length of the C string. So the length should be greater than 0, and it should not be miss. While, so title should not be, this is how I create a new text, miss. Because for the 2 others I should add a dot, otherwise I shouldn't add a dot. How I add the dot? Very simple. Title is equal to title plus, I should write like this. This is the syntax how I do it. I write the dot and this is it. Otherwise, if I've selected only this, the only miss from the combo 1. So if title is equal to miss, I just should add an empty space. Nothing else. So this one will be the empty space. This is it. Okay. Now I should go and add the other parts. I should see whether, so far I have settled the problem of title with a dot or empty space. Now I should settle the problem of those guys here. So I want to see whether I've checked check 1, and check 1 was about this one, the morning. If check 1, get check, this is the function that returns true or 1. You can write it at 1 if it is selected. Okay, so for the checkboxes, where do I have the checkboxes? There's the function or event or maybe member function which is called getCheck. It's a Boolean function. Returns true if it's checked. So if it is checked, what should I do? But first, you see there's something important going on because the code was changed. I should first start, I should append all of this stuff to the result, and when and the result will be added to the list. But first I add the stuff that is related to this guy. Bon voyage and good morning. Bon voyage and good evening, and so on. So I should check whether this one is checked first. Okay, I'm going to do that check first. So I'm asking if check other is checked. So whether this guy is 1. If it is checked, then I should take the text of the selected, of the corresponding French word. That's why. This is how I do that. Selected index. You can do it in another way. Is equal to check. The name of this guy was advanced. So I'm taking the index. What do I mean with index? Adieu is index 0, bon voyage index 1, bonjour is index 2. I should take the index first of the selected text. So I have advanced, get currently selected, and it returns an integer. Now I have the index. Now I should take that I know the index now, but I should take the text from the corresponding index. This is how I do it. Advanced point get lb text. Okay. The first parameter is the index, and the index is the selected index, as we have seen. This one. And the second one is the string. It's actually a reference to the string where I should put the data. So I put here the advanced text. Okay. The advanced text that I defined here in the beginning. So I have the advanced text. Now I should add others to check whether this text that I've already taken, I should add it, append it to this part here. So I go and I check whether check 1 is equal to get check. If it's checked, very easy. Then the result will be equal to, initially, what do I add? Initially I should check first whether the advanced text was checked. I mean, we've made it a bit complicated. I don't think it should have been for the start. Because you see, here I have good night, but here I have bon voyage, regarding of whether this one is selected or not. So first I should check whether the advanced text, which keeps the text of this combo box, if it's smaller than 0, then I should add only good morning. Because you see, this is always in the beginning. So I'm checking whether the advanced text is already checked, whether it's empty or not. And this is how I do it. If advanced text get length is greater than 0, that means it has been selected, then the result will be the final result that I'm going to append. I didn't define it here, so I'm going to define it here, the result. Okay, so the result is equal to, what do I have? I have the advanced text, bon voyage or whatever. I have the advanced text plus. So if this is selected, you see I have and good morning. Plus I'm adding good morning, because this is check 1. This is how I do it. Good morning. Afterwards, you see I have good morning. I have the title. Whether does it have a dot or not, I don't care, because I settled it up there. So I have the title. After that I have the name. You see here, I have the name and the surname. So plus name, I have an empty space after the name. This is how I write the empty space. Always IFT, the empty space, plus surname. Okay, this is it. This is if the advanced text is selected. If it is not selected, then the result will be is equal to, you see, if it's not selected, I have only good evening, good morning, so I'm writing that stuff. T good morning plus, what do I have here? The title Basically I have this stuff here, title, name, and everything till the end. So I'm copy pasting it. Okay, this is it. Now, after I have the result, whether it is this one or this one, I should add it to the list. How do I do that? There's a function called list, add string, and I'm adding the result. However, there is a problem with this approach. Since, I mean, it's working, it's not that we have a big problem, but in the end, we should also take care whether the string that we have already added is the longest in the list, okay? Because we have to set this horizontal scroll bar correspondingly. For this reason, you remember this stuff that we added, it was added for that reason. So we should add other checks. Namely, we write this stuff. If CS blah blah blah, you just copy paste it. I'm not going to explain it. Use it like this. Okay. Then I should check this stuff. Okay. So this size, this is the size function. It gives the size of x and the y coordinate. If the size of the x coordinate is greater than the max size, okay, then the max size is going to be this one. You will have this document and you can copy paste it. Okay, so max size is going to be this one, and this is it. This is okay. I should not forget list, because this is for check 1. I'm going to do it work for the check 2, check 3, and others. And finally, I should set the horizontal horizontal extent, and it will be set to max size. Okay, so remember this function as well. Okay, this is done for check 1. Let me see whether everything is working. I might have mistakes, I don't know. Okay, it's not working right now. We will see why. So I'm adding my name here, my surname, add to list. Why it's not working? Yes, because I didn't enable it. Okay. So first I'm going to write this piece of code here. How did I do that? I double clicked on this guy, meaning that it's also a button click. And first, and here I should enable or disable this combo box correspondingly. Okay, so first I should see whether it's checked. So if check other, get check. If it's checked, then this guy should be, because checked and button press are not the same. Whether I check it or not, I'm calling the button press function. Okay, but if it's checked, so I press it, it's checked, this should be enabled. I press the button again, but when I press it for the second time, it's unchecked. This should be disabled. Okay, so this is the code I'm writing here. If check other, get check is equal to 1, then this combo box, which is the advanced one, there's a property called enable window, and it should be set to true. It takes a boolean as a parameter. So if it's checked, I'm enabling it. Otherwise, I might try it, of course, if it's not checked. I'm going to comment it. If it's not checked, then enable window will be false. You should write it in capitals. This is how the syntax works. Okay, so let me check whether everything is okay. I have the title, other, okay. evening. Why it's not working? What's the problem? Title name. Okay. Result. Excuse me? I didn't? Yeah, I don't have to return the result. The result should be added to the list. Okay, so are you sure about that? It shouldn't be the problem, I think. Let me run the program again. Okay, Mr. I'm writing the name, I'm writing the surname, checking morning. Okay, it's working. Fine, it's working. Okay, so good morning, blah, blah, blah. It's not about the name. It was because I didn't program those others. I forgot I didn't program them. Let me check here audio and morning. So, good morning. There's something interesting here. Although I checked audio here, it's appearing here first. Why? Because there's another property of the list box. They're always appearing in sorted manner. Okay, so this is the property. Can you find sort here? Behavior sort is true. When I set it to false, so this is also important, it works as it should. So, Mr. whatever, morning, other, add to list, I'm adding them, add to list, okay. They appear as I'm adding them, not in sorted manner. But you see, bonjour and good morning are close to each other, very easy. I just had an empty space here. Now let's go with this, no, not this one, we are still here. We saw if check one was checked, what happened. Now let's copy paste this guy. And let's use it for check 2. Okay, everything is the same basically. This is only have to change this afternoon stuff. Instead of good morning, I'm going to write good afternoon and nothing else. The same applies here. Instead of good morning, I'm writing good afternoon. Everything is the same. Now this is for check 3. I think this applies to good evening. So this is how GUI works. There is a period of time when you just copy paste and make small changes to your code. So I'm writing good evening. And finally check 4. Good night. And I have good night here. Check 3, again check 4. And this is it. Let me run the code. I'm selecting now miss, blah, 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 blah again here. Morning, evening, other, bonjour, adding it. When you see when I'm adding the miss stuff, I don't have a dot here. Previously I had a dot, and it's added. Something is appended. I mean, after the good morning you should leave an empty space. It's trivial stuff. However, there is a problem, if I could say so. What if I don't check anything else but this one, and I want to add it? It's not working. Why? Here it's working. I check only bonjour, I'm adding it. Only bonjour and nothing else. Because here, in order, I'm checking whether check other is okay just to take, this is done only to take the how can I say, the advanced text. But here, if the advanced text is taken, I'm adding it only if the check 1 is added, only if check 2 is added, okay? 3 and 4. Now, I should add something else, and that's this one. If check other, get check, and others are not checked. And so if only check other is checked and others are not checked, get check. So if check one, check other is checked, and check one is not checked, and I'm going to copy paste this part of the code. Check 2 is not checked. Check 3 is not checked, and the one for the good night is not checked. Then what should I do? It's a trivial thing, basically. I'm just adding bonjour, blah, blah, blah. So the result will be equal to the advanced text plus what do I have after the advanced text? The title plus, I think, the name plus the surname. And I should add it to the list, add string, the result. And I should do this stuff also for the horizontal scroll bar. And this is it. Let me check it. So title is Mr. I'm writing here something, other. Now it's working. Okay? Only if this one is checked. So our program is working correctly. Yeah, it takes some time. Try to not make mistakes, because you should go from scratch. Maybe there's some way to fix it, but I'm not experienced with GUI in MFC. I'm experienced with GUI in Visual C#. Okay, and it's much easier to do it in Visual C#, but this is how it works. For your homework, you will have something similar. Now let's give you 1 minute to 2 minutes of break, and we'll continue with the next class, okay?